Next up, guys, we've got the prelim headliner. This one's Hyder Amil, the undefeated fighter from the El Nino Training Center, Gilbert Melendez's outfit. He's taking on Jeong Yeong Lee. And I wish my guy MMA Line Mover was live on the air with me right now, because he had a huge bet on Jeong Yeong Lee last time out against Blake Builder. I think the Blake Builder fade long-term is probably sound, but that was a great spot, and it was a really sharp bet in hindsight, right? Last time out, Hyder Amil was also pretty heavily favored in his UFC debut against Fernie Garcia, and he showed that was absolutely justified, going out there and pounding a hole through the head of Fernie Garcia via knockout in the second round. And keep in mind, Fernie Garcia fought Rinya Nakamura. He fought Brady Heaston. He fought Journey Newsom. The one thing that they all had in common, they didn't finish this guy. Right. And you had seen he had 4 losses via decision. He had never been finished in professional mixed martial arts. He got finished by Hyder Amil, and Hyder Amil got 5 wins by knockout, 1 win via submission. He went to decision on the Contender Series against Enver Sanmez. So he's kind of showed he's got a variety of different ways to win the fight. He beat Chase Gibson, who was a quality regional win at the time, Devontae Sewell. He beat Sanmez, like I mentioned, and Fernie Garcia. So is there a standout win in the bunch? I can't say that there is. But he's gone out there and done the job he's supposed to do so far. And he's done things other people have struggled to do, like go out there and get the finish over Fernie Garcia, who had not been finished. But now we kick it over to Jeong Yeong Lee, the Korean Tiger, says my guy Champ Betts. So shout out to the Korean Tiger, Jeong Yeong Lee, who beat Yisa, and he beat Blake Builder in UFC level competition. Yisa was a split decision over a 22-3 fighter, so somebody way more experienced than him. He got the win there. Now he's fighting somebody with less experience than him in Hyder Amil, for whatever it's worth. He also beat Blake Builder, who had less experience than him, just 10 professional fights coming into that one. So now you look at his quality of work, his brand of work. He has only lost 1 fight ever. That was to 6-3 Seong Kim. And at the time, he was just 3-0 as a professional. That was back in 2017. So I'm sure he's made huge strides since then in terms of his training. He's on an 8-fight win streak heading into this bout. And I'm looking for his social media profiles. So Korean Tiger, that is what I'm looking for. Here we go. And right now, guys, it looks like he's training at Fight Ready in Arizona, putting in work with the great Eddie Cha, and it looks like a variety of training partners. So seems like he's done his work in the US to make this acclimation process a little bit easier. He did fight in the Apex Center last time as well. So now we've got some information on his training and his situation. We talked about Hyder Amil training out of the El Nino Training Center. He's a little bit more advanced in age, right? He's 34 years of age. He's on a 10-fight winning streak. That dates back to his amateur career. So both of these guys have experienced a lot of winning. Both of these guys have a lot of momentum riding into this bout. However, the difference is one guy's 28 years of age. He's a little bit bigger and taller. I'm talking, of course, about Jeong Yeong Lee. He's 28 compared to 34. He's 5'10" compared to 5'9". He's got a 73-inch reach compared to a 70-inch reach. For me, the thing that makes Hyder Amil interesting is, number one, his only loss on his record was on the amateur scene back in the California Amateur. So let me pull up ShareDog and see if we can get confirmation on this. Man, I can't find his other amateur fight that he lost. Shit. If anybody knows the results of that Tito Mendoza fight, please let me know. Please let me know that. But in any case, right, I'm not sure that Hyder Amil has been finished, right? And if he hasn't been finished, I mean, man, he's a tough guy, right? He goes out there, he creates a storm. He really throws wild. He takes a lot of risks. And if my memory serves, he can be put in some difficult situations in his fights and has persevered and then come back and found a way to win. A lot of people expected him to beat Fernie Garcia. So, no skin off his nose there. He was favored as well to beat Emre Sanmez. So he's gotten a pretty easy push to this point. This is going to be where he meets some real resistance in Jeong Yeong Lee. I always worry, when you have fighters come in and I haven't seen them grapple UFC level opponents at a high level, that always makes me worry. So I do think that's where you could see Jeong Yeong Lee potentially run into some trouble with Hyder Amil. Hyder Amil throws way more volume. Okay. So in his UFC fights, he's throwing 4.7 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 2.1. And then on the other side, you've got Jeong Yeong Lee, very clean, right? 2.8 landed, 1.5 absorbed. However, that's just not as much volume, right? So he's limiting volume a little bit better. Hyder Amil's taking a little bit more risk, but overall, he's throwing more volume. He's a switch stance fighter. He throws and brings a lot of pressure, and neither one of these guys has a lot of takedowns in their fights, right? Obviously, the finish over Fernie Garcia didn't necessarily give him all that much time in the world to pursue it, right? He finished him early on enough. But in that fight, Hyder Amil did have a takedown attempt. He did have multiple submission attempts against Fernie as well. He was just trying to finish him by any means necessary, showing a lot of good finishing instincts. Against Enver Samez, Enver got 5 takedowns on him. It was a very close fight, but Hyder Amil, again, showed off that submission attempt, right? Went after the submissions. He's not afraid to look for them, and that's important to note coming into this fight. And then on the other side, Jeong Yeong Lee, he got 2 takedowns against Blake Builder and shut him out on the feet. But again, that didn't tell me much. He got taken down 5 times against Yiza and only outlanded him by 1 significant strike. That doesn't tell me much. He got the knockout on Road to UFC. He got the submission on Road to UFC. Those are both brilliant, fine wins. First round, easy finishes, no skin off your nose. But I'm looking at a guy in Jeong Yeong Lee who just hasn't separated himself very much yet. He's done what he's been asked to do. But I still think that there's a little bit more I want to see from this guy, to know he's the truth. I think he's got real skills and abilities, but I think that he definitely is going to be tested in this fight. You're seeing a plus 175 as a comeback on Hyder Amil compared to a minus 210, minus 190 at best on DraftKings for Jeong Yeong Lee. And I think that this is no Blake Builder. That's just the difference I'll draw here. And it's not like Blake is a bad fighter, per se. I just think that Blake Builder, when I'm looking at his record, right, Kyle Nelson was able to shut him out of the fight. His win in the UFC is over Shane Young. It was a competitive decision. And for me, that just told me everything I needed to know. Shane Young, no longer with the promotion, not really a UFC level guy, in my opinion. Shout out to my guy Line Mover, though, who is a very sharp guy, says Yiza is a legit grappler, in my opinion. Fair play. But he also says, hashtag always fade Blake Builder. Fair enough. Lead decision in the over 2.5 is pick'em, which is interesting. 2 durable guys have not been finished. I think Hyder Amil is a dangerous guy, but he invites risk, right? That means pro and against. He can go out there and hurt this guy. He can knock him out. He could get the submission. He could also put himself in a lot of danger by being so aggressive, by pursuing so much. And his opponent has shown, if you look at Jeong Yeong Lee's record, he's got 4 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, a 4-1, very respectable record to the decision. So he's a balanced fighter, well-rounded, capable in all positions. As for Hyder Amil, same thing is true. Only 1-0 career to the submission. But like I mentioned, he's attempted a lot of subs in a short UFC career. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue to work on that element of his game, continue to see him show that off. Yeah, I think this is a fascinating, well-matched fight, and I would just line it a little bit closer. I'm going to do my tape and due diligence as always, come back to you guys with an ironed-out opinion. But for me, I just respect a guy like Hyder Amil and what he's been able to accomplish. First of all, he's been favored his last 2 fights, so people had a lot of high hopes for him, and now he's a big dog coming in against an opponent in Jeong Yeong Lee. And the other thing is, this guy just brings a pace of pressure, a kind of uncomfortable guy to fight. And, it's always tough to say, right? But in a lot of these fights, skills matter, but also like how somebody feels matter, right? There's a lot of guys that are really skilled, but you start to put them under pressure. You start to make them doubt themselves, and they make huge mistakes and they underperform expectations. And that's the one thing I wonder about Jeong Yeong Lee in this fight is, what is going to happen when Hyder Amil starts bringing crazy pressure, getting in his face, throwing wild? Is he going to clip him and finish him? Is he going to have the tools to shut him out of the fight, or is Hyder Amil going to make this a dog fight? Because he's proven in his fights that he's very good at that, and he's willing to go to dark places to get the win. So shout out to him. Shout out to the El Nino Training Center. That's a scrap pack, as y'all know. And Gilbert Melendez, a guy that you want to learn from if you're trying to be a high-level fighter in the lighter weight classes. Shout out to Precision Picks in the chat. Says, Amil pushes pace but fades late. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like he gets finished early or he gets finished late. Yeah, I don't hate that look because he fights like a suicide pace, and it's a good day to die. Excuse me. Trying to get to Hyder plus 3.5, but small concern on his reckless tendencies. Yeah, he kind of, like I said, he invites risk. So that sets up finishing opportunities for both fighters, not just the guy that you're looking at back. The iced coffee is just hitting different today, folks. We are locked in. We are absolutely dialed.